She said, "This interview is off the record," but what she really meant was, everything was about to change. The young man, dressed in a crisp suit that's just slightly too big, enters the sleek corporate building, his heart racing with a cocktail of excitement and anxiety. This was his first big interview, the kind that could change everything. He knows the job he's applying for is his best shot at a fresh start, but the polished glass doors and sterile hallways make him feel like an outsider. The low hum of office equipment and distant conversations do little to calm his nerves. The sleek, minimalist decor of the office is intimidating, its quiet perfection almost suffocating. He takes a deep breath before reaching the receptionist, and she directs him to the HR department on the other side of the floor. His footsteps feel too loud as they echo against the cool marble floors, and he can't help but feel underdressed, even though he's wearing his best. The office feels overwhelmingly professional, each desk neatly organized, the air fragrant with a faint scent of leather and coffee. It's a world he's just stepping into, and everything about it seems a bit larger than life. The HR lady stands as he enters her office. She's confident, her posture straight, a calm authority radiating from her. She's mid-40s, graceful, yet there's a quiet vulnerability in her eyes that he can't quite place. She's wearing a tailored blazer, a soft blouse that hints at elegance, and her hair is pulled back in a neat, professional bun. Despite her age, she's undeniably attractive, there's a timeless beauty to her, a subtle poise that makes her seem out of reach. Yet, there's a warmth in her eyes, a gentle smile on her lips, that tells him she's not unapproachable. "Good morning," she says, her voice smooth, warm, and surprisingly soft. "Please, have a seat." Her tone is professional, yet there's something unspoken in the way she makes him feel like he's the only person in the room. As he sits, she takes a moment to assess him, her gaze steady and observant. The brief silence between them is filled only by the quiet clicking of a pen as she prepares the interview papers. He feels himself stiffen, trying to project confidence despite his internal turmoil. His palms are slightly sweaty, and he tries to discreetly wipe them on his trousers before clasping his hands together. She catches this, the briefest smile flickering on her lips. It's not mocking, but understanding. He can feel the kindness behind her professional demeanor, and it unsettles him. Her eyes meet his again, and this time, they hold for a moment longer than usual, her gaze slightly intense yet kind. It's as if she's seeing something in him, something he hadn't even noticed himself. For a second, the interview feels like a conversation between two equals, not just a job evaluation. As she asks him the first question, her voice is calm but direct, pulling him out of his thoughts. "Tell me about yourself." There's a pause, and in that brief silence, he notices something else, her fingers resting lightly on the desk, poised, deliberate, and almost intimate in the way she holds them there. Everything about her feels graceful, but there's a weight to it. The space between them, while filled with the usual professional distance, suddenly feels more charged than he expects. He realizes he might be more captivated by her presence than he anticipated. The interview continues, and for a moment, the young man finds himself slipping into the rhythm of the conversation. She asks him about his previous experience, his strengths, and his goals, and he answers as best as he can, though his mind is still slightly distracted by the quiet power she exudes. Her questions are straightforward, but there's something in the way she listens that makes him feel like she's peeling back layers of his life, his ambitions, fears, desires. It's subtle but unmistakable, her attention is both penetrating and oddly comforting. She doesn't rush him, allowing him to think through his responses, making him feel heard in a way he's not used to in interviews. The soft murmur of the air conditioner hums in the background, but her voice cuts through the ambient noise, clear and calm. It's in these moments, small, unspoken, he notices just how attuned she is. Each time he speaks, she's already anticipating his next words, nodding slowly, as though she's following his thoughts even before they leave his lips. The atmosphere in the room is quiet, but it's not cold, there's an unspoken warmth, almost as if the two of them are alone in a world separate from the corporate office around them. Then, out of nowhere, she asks a question that surprises him. "What is it that drives you outside of work?" she inquires, her eyes narrowing slightly, watching him with genuine curiosity. It's an unexpected shift from the usual interview questions, one that feels more personal. His mind falters for a moment. No one had ever asked him that before, and he wasn't sure how to answer. He opens his mouth, unsure whether to speak about his passion for learning, his personal goals, or the things that keep him up at night. She doesn't interrupt, just watches patiently as he gathers his thoughts. The vulnerability of the moment hangs between them, and he suddenly feels more exposed than he intended. This wasn't part of the script. He had expected to talk about his resume, his qualifications. Instead, she was asking him about the very things that make him human, his dreams, his desires, the parts of him that don't fit neatly into a job application. I've always felt like I have a lot to prove, he says, his voice quiet but steady, as if hearing his own words for the first time. Not to anyone else, really. More to myself. I think that's why I keep pushing forward. There's a pause. She doesn't offer the usual, good answer, or nodding approval. Instead, she leans forward slightly, her expression softening. That's interesting, she murmurs, her voice low, as if reflecting on his words. I think it's important to have something personal that drives you. Something deeper. The words hang in the air, and for the first time in the interview, he feels a deep connection to her. The walls of the room seem to fade a little, the sharp professionalism now mingling with something gentler, more intimate. Her gaze doesn't waver, still steady but kinder than before. He's aware, in that moment, that she's not just listening to his answers, she's seeing him in a way he didn't expect. The room, which once felt formal and stiff, now seems smaller, as if the space between them is closing, drawing them closer without either of them moving a muscle. Her eyes lock onto his, and he realizes, with sudden clarity, that this interview has already shifted. What started as a professional exchange now feels like something far more personal, a conversation that neither of them is truly ready to end. And then, with a quiet smile that only adds to the soft tension hanging between them, she says, "This interview is off the record." The words are simple, but they carry weight. It's an unspoken invitation, one that shakes him to his core and makes him wonder just what kind of boundaries are being crossed. As the interview drifts further into the realm of personal reflection, the atmosphere grows more relaxed, almost like an unspoken agreement that they've moved beyond the formalities. She leans back in her chair, her posture still composed, but there's a subtle softness in her demeanor now, as if she's letting down her guard. The usual professional distance between them begins to blur, replaced by something quieter, something more personal. Her next question is unexpected, though no longer jarring. "Tell me, what's the one thing you've learned about yourself in the past year?" she asks, her eyes unwavering, filled with genuine interest. The words hit him harder than he anticipated. He hadn't thought about his own self-reflection in a long time, not beyond the usual career goals and ambitions. The question makes him stop, caught off guard by the depth of the inquiry. The room feels more intimate now. It's not just about getting the job anymore, it's about the way she's seeing him, asking him to reveal pieces of his inner world, in a way he never expected to during a job interview. The light filtering through the blinds now feels warmer, softer, and every sound in the room seems amplified, the rustling of her papers, the faint ticking of a clock on the wall. The air between them is heavy with unspoken understanding. He takes a moment to answer, his fingers tapping nervously on the armrest of his chair. "I've learned that I tend to avoid facing my fears, or at least, I used to. I think I'm starting to face them now, in my own way. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing." He looks up to find her watching him closely, her expression thoughtful and almost empathetic. Her lips quirk upward slightly, a knowing smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "Facing fears can be complicated," she replies, her voice soft, yet steady, like she understands exactly what he means. "But it's also incredibly freeing." Her words settle into the silence between them, like they've shared a secret, something more meaningful than just a job interview. There's a weight in the air now, something emotional and raw. It's not the kind of exchange he expected, but it's the kind that lingers in his chest long after the words are spoken. He feels seen, in a way that's both comforting and unsettling. She isn't just asking him about his skills or qualifications, she's genuinely interested in who he is as a person. This is more than just professional pleasantries, this is a moment of connection, however subtle. As the conversation continues, he becomes increasingly aware of the closeness that's developing between them. There's no obvious physical proximity, no accidental brushes or lingering touches, but something has shifted. The air around them feels charged with the quiet intensity of two people who are beginning to understand each other in a way that's far deeper than surface-level conversation. Her gaze doesn't waver when she listens to his answers, and he feels it, her full attention is on him. In those moments, the formalities feel like they're slipping away, replaced by something more human, more intimate. For a brief moment, their eyes lock, and in that silence, they both understand that this conversation has become something more. The connection is subtle, but undeniable. It's the kind of quiet intimacy that builds slowly, as if the walls around them are coming down, piece by piece. She isn't just the HR lady anymore, and he's no longer just the candidate. They are two people, sharing something meaningful in this small, intimate space. The question isn't just about his personal growth, it's a gateway to understanding the emotional currents beneath the surface. And as they continue to speak, the emotional distance between them shortens, not with any overt gestures, but with each vulnerable word shared. Every small revelation adds depth to their connection, leaving both of them uncertain of where it will lead, but keenly aware that something is shifting, something significant. The room seems to shrink as the conversation slows down. There's a noticeable shift in the energy between them, as if the boundaries of professional decorum are beginning to dissolve. The interview is no longer about skills and qualifications, it has become a dance of unspoken words, a subtle, simmering connection building in the space between them. The young man feels it, this quiet, magnetic pull, and wonders if she feels it too. He watches her, his eyes briefly catching the soft curve of her lips, the way she seems to observe him without judgment, as if she's seeing something more than just a candidate for a job. Her next question comes softly, breaking the silence, but it feels different now, more layered. Do you ever find yourself holding back when you want something, out of fear of being judged, she asks. The words are simple, but the depth behind them lingers in the air, pulling him into a deeper reflection. It's a personal question, one that feels almost too intimate for an interview, yet he knows it's not meant to be invasive. It's just that the atmosphere between them has shifted into something more vulnerable. He hesitates, not because he doesn't have an answer, but because he wonders if he should reveal the truth. Is this the right moment to admit the things he's kept hidden? Does she even want to know? As his thoughts swirl, he notices the way she leans in slightly, not with urgency, but with a quiet, deliberate presence that feels almost like an invitation. Her eyes are fixed on his, unflinching. In this moment, he realizes that she isn't just asking questions, she's waiting for him to be honest, waiting for him to truly show her who he is. The pressure of her gaze feels heavy, but in a way that's strangely comforting. It's not judgment, it's understanding. Her voice is calm, but there's a subtle warmth to it now. It's okay to be honest here, she says, her words softer, as if she's giving him permission to open up. There's no rush, no expectation, just the quiet assurance that this moment, whatever it is, belongs to them. The young man swallows, his chest tightening as he realizes how vulnerable he feels. The interview, once rigid and impersonal, has become something else entirely. The air between them crackles with unspoken tension, a soft, palpable energy that both unnerves and excites him. He wants to say something, something real, but the words are stuck in his throat, unsure if they'll be too much or too little. He forces a breath and finally answers, his voice quieter now, tinged with vulnerability. Yes. I think I've always been afraid of showing too much, of letting myself be seen. The words hang between them, raw and real. It's the kind of admission that creates a shift, a moment of mutual understanding. But just as the silence deepens, she stands up slowly, breaking the spell, and gestures toward the door. It's not abrupt, but it's clear the interview is coming to a close. Yet, the weight of their unspoken exchange remains, lingering in the air. Her eyes meet his one last time, and as she holds his gaze, he feels that tension between them more than ever. There's no movement, no obvious gesture, but the electric charge remains. Neither of them knows what happens next, but both can feel that something meaningful has just begun to unfold. The interview seems to have drawn to a close, but the room feels strangely heavy, as if something unspoken still hangs between them. The young man gathers his papers, but his hands are slightly unsteady, betraying the thoughts still racing in his mind. He glances over at the HR lady, who stands a few feet away, taking her time to organize the documents on her desk. Her movements are deliberate, calm, and in those quiet moments, he finds himself studying her more intently, her posture, the subtle strength in the way she carries herself, the way her gaze flickers toward him every now and then, almost as if checking for some sign. He feels it now, this pull between them. It's not loud, not obvious, but it's there, quiet and steady, like a current running just beneath the surface. The professional mask that both of them have worn through the interview is slipping, and in its place, something more human is emerging. For a moment, neither of them speaks, the silence stretching out longer than either of them expected. It's as if they are both savoring this final moment, neither of them willing to be the first to break the spell. Then, she speaks, her voice steady but softer than before. "You've been very open with me," she says, her eyes meeting his with an unexpected sincerity. "And I admire that." Her words are simple, but they settle in his chest like a warmth, and he realizes that for the first time in a long while, someone is actually seeing him, not just his skills or qualifications, but his vulnerabilities. The admission feels strangely intimate, though the words are nothing more than professional praise. Still, in the context of their conversation, they carry a weight that catches him off guard. He's never been good at accepting compliments, especially ones that feel so personal. His throat tightens slightly, and he clears it before responding, his voice quieter than usual. "I didn't expect to talk about so much during this interview. But I guess it feels good to be heard." Her smile softens, and for a brief moment, he notices the vulnerability in her eyes. She's been professional throughout, but now, there's a hint of something deeper, something she's not saying out loud. The young man suddenly realizes that they've both shared something here, something real. The usual transactional nature of an interview has been replaced with an emotional exchange, one that neither of them had planned but that neither can deny. "I know what you mean," she says, almost under her breath, her eyes drifting briefly to the window, as if reflecting on her own words. "Sometimes, it's not the job we want to talk about, but the parts of ourselves we don't usually share." There's a pause, and in that silence, he realizes how much of himself he's already shared with her. In such a short time, they've ventured into spaces most people never do in an interview, spaces where vulnerability, trust, and emotional honesty have taken center stage. The tension between them, once an undercurrent, now feels more like a shared understanding, an acknowledgement of what's been unspoken but deeply felt. As the moment lingers, the young man feels something in him shift, an understanding that goes beyond the interview, beyond the job, and into something more personal. She stands up, breaking the silence gently. "Well, I've got everything I need. You'll hear from us soon," she says, her voice professional again but tinged with the warmth of their earlier connection. She extends her hand once more, this time with a smile that lingers in her eyes longer than before. He takes her hand, the contact lingering just a bit longer than before. The gesture feels more than just a handshake, it's a quiet acknowledgement of everything that's passed between them in these few moments. As he lets go, he's left with the quiet certainty that the connection they've shared here, however brief, has changed something in both of them. Neither of them is quite ready to walk away from it, but they both know they must. As he walks toward the door, he looks back, and for a split second, their eyes meet. She doesn't say anything more, but the unspoken understanding between them lingers in the air. The door closes behind him with a soft click, but the moment remains, etched in his mind. The door closes softly behind him as he steps into the hallway, the sounds of the office filtering back into his awareness, but his mind is still fully anchored in that room. The young man's heart races slightly as he walks down the hall, still replaying the way she looked at him, the way her voice had softened when they spoke. He can feel the weight of the unspoken words hanging between them, a lingering sense of something unfinished. And yet, as he reaches the elevator, he hesitates. A strange pull tugs at him, compelling him to turn back, to go back to that office and say the things he hadn't quite allowed himself to express. The whole interview had been a slow unraveling, the layers of professional distance fading with each vulnerable conversation, but he hadn't said everything. He hadn't revealed just how deeply her words had affected him, how her quiet understanding had left him unsettled in the most unexpected way. The hesitation only lasts a moment. He turns on his heel and walks back toward the HR department, the decision now made. He's not sure what he's hoping to achieve, he knows he's already answered her questions, given his best pitch, but something inside him refuses to let this moment slip away, as if he needs to acknowledge the quiet connection that's grown between them. When he re-enters the office, it's almost as if no time has passed at all. She's standing by the window now, gazing out over the city, her profile sharp against the light. For a moment, he simply watches her, feeling a rush of emotions flood him, nervousness, excitement, and something else he can't quite place. She turns when she hears him enter, an eyebrow lifting slightly as if surprised, but then her expression softens as she sees the way he's standing there. "Back again?" she asks gently, her voice still warm, not at all accusatory. "I thought I'd said everything I needed to." He takes a deep breath, stepping back into the room with newfound resolve. "There's one thing I didn't say," he starts, his voice a little unsteady but firm. I don't know what it is about you, but there's something in the way you listen, in the way you see me that I didn't expect. I've never felt so understood before." There's a brief silence as the words hang between them, heavier than he anticipated. He watches as her expression shifts from curiosity to something softer, almost tender. She doesn't speak at first, just watches him with those eyes that seem to see right through him, and for a moment, the vulnerability of the situation takes his breath away. Finally, she steps closer, her gaze never leaving his. "I think I know what you mean," she says softly, her voice low and reflective. "Sometimes, we get caught up in the roles we play, and forget that we're still human underneath all of it. It's rare to find someone who allows you to take off that mask, even just for a moment." Her words send a wave of warmth through him, and for the first time, he feels like he's not alone in the vulnerability they've shared. There's something profoundly intimate in the quiet understanding that passes between them, something neither of them expected, yet both of them desperately needed. She pauses, as if considering her next words carefully, and then, with a gentle smile, she says, "I don't know what's next, but I think we've shared something real here." The quiet confession is enough to shift the emotional weight from uncertainty to something more grounded, more authentic. He's not sure what the future holds, but in that moment, they both know that their connection has transcended the professional, becoming something meaningful in a way neither of them could have predicted. And as the tension finally lifts, they both stand there, two people sharing an understanding that only the quietest moments can offer. The conversation has shifted, and though the interview technically ended, neither of them seems eager to break the moment. The young man stands by the door, his hand resting lightly on the handle, as though he's about to leave but finds himself unable to. Her gaze, steady and warm, holds him in place. It's the same look from earlier, that quiet understanding, the one that tells him this wasn't just another interview. This was something different. Something personal. She watches him as he shifts from one foot to the other, clearly unsure of whether to leave or stay. There's a moment of hesitation, but it's not uncomfortable, there's something comforting in it, as if they both understand that the conversation, the connection, is far from finished. "I should let you go," she says finally, her voice soft but firm. "You've been here long enough, and I'm sure you have other things to do." The words are simple, but there's a weight to them. A recognition that the time they've shared is precious, even if it was brief. But he doesn't move. Instead, he looks at her, really looks at her, this woman who has shifted from a distant figure in an office to someone who feels almost like a mirror, reflecting back to him parts of himself he hadn't known he was ready to confront. "I don't want to leave yet," he says, his voice softer than before, filled with the vulnerability he's not accustomed to showing. "I feel like... I don't know, like there's something more here, something we both just touched on but never fully said." She tilts her head slightly, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "You're not the only one who feels that way." Her words land between them, not with finality, but with quiet truth. She steps a little closer, closing the distance that had been there only minutes ago. There's no rush in her movements, no pressure, just a calm assurance in the way she holds herself, as if she's content with what has passed between them but still open to what could come next. The young man swallows, suddenly aware of how close they are. His heart races, not out of nervousness but from the unexpected realization that there's something undeniable in the space between them. It's not physical, it's emotional. It's the acknowledgement that their connection, however fleeting, has reached a depth neither of them had anticipated. There's no grand gesture, no sweeping romantic confession. Instead, the moment between them is quiet, sincere. "I'm not sure what happens after this," he says, his voice a whisper, "but I think I want to explore this, whatever this is." She nods slowly, her gaze softening with understanding. "I think we both do." And just like that, they don't need to say more. There's no need for declarations, no need for answers. The unspoken agreement between them is enough. They both understand that something has changed, something significant and real. It's not about the job anymore, not about the interview, it's about this shared moment of honesty, this quiet, mutual understanding. As he opens the door and steps out, the weight of the unspoken lingers, but there's a lightness to it now. Neither of them knows where this connection will go, but for the first time, neither of them feels the need to rush. What they've shared will remain, a bond that transcends the office walls and lingers in their minds. The future is uncertain, but for now, that's okay. It's enough to know that, for a brief moment, they've both stepped outside of the roles they were supposed to play and embraced something real.